welcome back to my channel. Amy here. Sorry about the line of light we have going on right here. I tried to move the blinds a certain way. It just would not go away. So here we are. But anyway, today we're going to be talking about more of my favorite books in 2020. Y'all, I am so sorry this has taken me so long to do these videos. Life just happens sometimes and I just haven't had time to film, which has really been bumming me out. Beside the point, we're here right now and we're going to be talking about my favorite mysteries and thrillers, horrors, if there's any in here. This was the list, this list and my Mail Romance list, which that video will be coming up next, have been very hard to narrow it down to a certain number. So I have like 7 books here. I know that's an odd number, but we're gonna go with it. And then I have one honorable mention that not necessarily was a 5-star, maybe it was a 4-star, maybe I gave it 3 stars. I don't remember what I gave it, but it really packed a punch. I really enjoyed it. This is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. I have fell in love with Grady Hendrix's writing. Through his writing, I've come to find out that I'm not a fan of body horror. So be warned that there is some body horror in here. I was literally just like ewing while reading this book or listening to this book. So I did listen to this book. The narration was fantastic. We follow a Southern lady named Patricia. I forgot where this takes place, but this actually, in this book, the author mentions that these series of events takes place after my best friend's exorcism. So same little Southern town, just a couple years later. So we're here in like the early 90s, I believe. So another great era that I grew up in. Absolutely loved the 90s, late 80s, early 90s kind of vibe. Absolutely loved it. Loved the representation of this book. Sometimes I don't feel like we have that thick of an accent that these narrators try to portray. But this one does a fantastic job at this Patricia's voice and getting the Southern accent across. I loved following along with these Southern housewives as they just go through their day-to-day lives. You know, it was in a time where wives were mostly like, handling the household. Not that we don't still do that, but I feel like we have a little bit more independence than back in that time. So yeah, we're following these housewives as they just, make sure the house runs, the kids are doing good, the husband's happy, all those things. And then you throw in a vampire into the mix and it just becomes like this great story. I had a ball with it. There was, like I said, there was some body horror that I didn't really like. I found that it also kind of drug a little bit. It is quite a thick book and at times I was just like, okay, let's get to the point, but it still left that imprint on me that when I see this book, it makes me smile. So I had to include it in part of a favorite. Even though it may have not made a 5-star rating, it's still a good read. All right, let's get into my 7 favorite mystery thrillers of 2020. Coming in at number 7, I have to mention I Found You by Lisa Jewell. Lisa Jewell has really impressed me over the years of just reading her books. We follow a middle-aged woman named Alice. I love the imperfection of Alice. She's got a little fluff around the middle. She's in her early 40s. I feel like I can relate to this character. She's had 3 different kids. She's had 3 kids from 3 different husbands. She's just not, she's not the most perfect woman in the world, but she's doing her best. I just really fell in love with her character. And she runs across a stranger on the beach around where she lives. I hope this isn't getting in the way of my face, but it's kind of moving this way. And once she finds him and starts talking to him, she realizes that he doesn't know who he is. He has a little bit of amnesia. So she wants to help him. So and she can't leave him out there. Just being the kind-hearted person that she is, she can't leave him out there on the beach alone in the rain, not knowing who he is or where to go. So she takes him into her home, and together they start putting pieces of his life together. This story had many different parts and series of events that just really kept you on your toes. We also follow a young, newly married woman. I think her name was Lisa, if I'm remembering correctly. Now the light's really shining in my face. We're gonna have some different light angles going on here but anyway, her husband has just went missing. So is the stranger that has been with Alice, is he the husband of Lily? Or do these two people somehow relate to each other? And we also have a little timeline in here, which I absolutely love. So we kind of go back, I want to say like 23 years earlier, as we're following a family. It's a mom and dad and a brother and a sister, or a son and a daughter. They go on this beach vacation. So we're following their story, and then we're following Alice along with Lisa and trying to find, you know, Lisa's trying to find her husband. Alice is trying to help this anonymous guy figure out who he is. And somehow it all meshes together. And I absolutely fell in love with the story. Again, even though the cover's not appealing, when I see this book, it brings a smile to my face. So, number 7. Coming in at number 6, The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torr. I absolutely love this book. Again, I didn't think I was gonna like it. Took me forever to pick it up, because really the synopsis doesn't give you much, and it's just a very small little things on the back. It says, "My life is simple as long as I follow these rules. Don't leave the apartment, never let anyone in, and don't kill anyone. I've obeyed these rules for 3 years, but rules were made to be broken." So we follow a young girl. Her name is Deanna. She goes by Jessica for her clients, or aka Jess Riley 19. So she's 19 years old. She is a webcam girl, and I just found that so interesting. Just that part of the story in itself was very interesting, learning how she goes about her daily job, I guess, how she keeps herself fit. She does not leave her apartment because of the fact that she thinks she enjoys killing too much. So she keeps herself locked away and away from people, so she doesn't have the urge to kill them. Very interesting storyline. Very interesting. I was just so involved in this story and just the way she goes about her everyday life. There's this UPS guy that comes to her door almost every day because she's constantly just ordering her necessities, food, whatever it may be. She does not get out. So she has regular people that come to her door. So there's this UPS guy that they kind of form like this flirty little banter between the two of them. He sort of gets really obsessed with her. So that's a fun part of the story. There's also like her drug addict neighbor, where she gets him to do certain things for her, and in return she gives him like narcotics or whatever, something like that. It's been a while since I read it, but again, it just left such an imprint on me. It was just a fascinating read, and the main part of the story is really her and her clients. One particular client kind of strikes something in her where she feels like she needs to take action against this person and find him before he does anything bad. So that's kind of where we get into the nitty-gritty of the story, but it actually takes a little while to get there. But I absolutely loved it. If you haven't read it yet, definitely pick it up. This is the beginning of a series, but I actually haven't read any more in the series. It's like I want to. Part of me wants to pick up the second book, but then part of me is like, I don't want to ruin it, you know, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like the second book's not going to be as good, but who knows, we may do it this year. But anyway, this one is very good. I highly recommend it. All right, coming in at number 5 is The Other People by C.J. Tudor. I think this is my favorite C.J. Tudor. I've only read maybe 2, The Chalk Man. Did I only read The Chalk Man? I only read The Chalk Man. I prefer this one over The Chalk Man, but if you like The Chalk Man, you will like this one as well. So we mostly follow Gabe. Gabe was driving home one night, and he swears he sees his daughter in the car, like in front of him, and she's mouthing the word daddy. So the story just kind of takes off from there. Of course, we get some timelines to how we got to this point, or what happened leading up to the point of Sosei, his missing daughter. But 3 years have passed since that particular event, and Gabe has just been traveling the same highway searching for this car that he knows he saw his daughter in. We also follow Fran. Fran actually knows what happened on that fateful night. So we're following her and the events that lead there. But Fran is on the run from the other people. So she can't really talk to Gabe, tell him anything about that night. She's trying to get away from these people. The other people, so this is where the book kind of reminded me of The Chain, which The Chain I didn't really particularly care for. It was okay. The Chain is, they kidnap a child, and then they give you instructions on the next child that you have to kidnap in order to get your child back. So it's like a chain of events of kidnapping kid after kid in order to get your child back. In the other people, instead of like kidnapping or anything like that, you go to like the dark web and you ask for someone's help, like if you need someone killed or you need to get revenge on someone kind of thing, but yet you still have to pay it forward. So if that person does a deed for you, sooner or later that person is going to come back to you and say, okay, I've done this for you, I need you to do this for me. So that's kind of how the other people work. So I just felt like there was a lot going on in here, a lot to kind of keep you on your toes. There's also a little bit of a spiritual vibe happening in this book as well. I really enjoyed like the backstory. I just really had a good time with it. I also listened to this book and the audio was fantastic. So I highly recommend that, reading along with the book. It really just brought everything to life about this book. All right, we're down to our top 4. These next 4 books were probably my absolute favorite mystery, thriller, horror, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna have a really tough time of like which one is like, I think I know which one is like my number 1, but it's a tough race. It's a tough race, y'all. I don't know. Okay, so I think coming in at number 4, we're going to go with The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I fell in love with this book. After I read this book, I knew I had to read more of her, and I knew she had a new one out. So of course I picked that one up. But I haven't really found anything yet that I loved as much as this book and another book we'll be talking about very soon. I'm giving it away already. Of course, we have timelines. Timelines are my favorite. We follow these group of girls from Vermont in 1950. They are in like this boarding school. We follow each one of them. One of the girls goes missing. I think it's a group of 4 little girls. We follow each of them. One of them goes missing. And then years later in Vermont in 2014, we follow Fiona. Fiona is a journalist who has lost her sister on the grounds of this old boarding school for girls. There's also in here some paranormal activity type stuff going on. So timelines, paranormal stuff. It was so much fun. It scared the heck out of me. But Fiona is trying to get to the bottom of her sister's death. It just looks very suspicious. The boyfriend, of course, was accused, but Fiona is still not sure whether it was him or not. So she's just trying to find out the truth. Along the way, she finds out just more information about this school, what it represented, and how these two stories come together in the end. I just absolutely loved it. Yeah, if you haven't picked this one up yet, I highly recommend it. Coming in at number 3, these last 3 are so hard because I loved all of them. But for number 3, I'm gonna go with Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This is a book within a book. So again, I absolutely loved it. We have like, the book is sort of like our timeline. We follow Maggie Holt. Her father wrote a book about the haunted house that they lived in for just a matter of a couple days. It's very Amityville horror vibes to me. But early on in the book, Maggie learns that her father has left the house to her. What is the name of the house? Bainbury Hall. Bainbury Hall was the name of the house that Maggie and her parents lived in for just like a very short time. And Maggie's dad wrote a book about their time there called House of Horrors. He wrote about how every day led up to the day where they just out of nowhere just left the house, left everything there, just took themselves and their daughter and moved away from this house. The house has become very popular ever since the book has come out. So when Maggie learns that she has inherited the house, first of all, she thought her father had sold it, got rid of it. But now that she has it, she's going to like renovate it and put it on the market to sell. But while she's there in the house renovating or deciding what she's going to do with it, some series of events happen, and she starts to wonder, are the stories all true? Does the book really have some truth to it? So as we follow Maggie, we're also following along in the House of Horrors book. So one chapter may be a chapter of House of Horrors, and then the next chapter is going to be Maggie and what's happening in the house now. It was fascinating. I loved it. Definitely some kind of creepy paranormal stuff happening in here. I had a very good time with it. I always love a good Riley Sager. This is probably, I think this is my favorite Riley Sager. I mean, last year I loved Lock Every Door, but this one has, I think, topped it. Okay, the next 2. Very hard to do this, but I think number 2 is going to be Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Penborough. This just blew my mind. I will say that sort of the middle part of the book does get a little draggy, not necessarily boring, but you're kind of still trying to figure out, all right, what is happening? Why are all these events happening? Who is this person? So we follow Louise. She is a single mom. She works for I think like a law firm of some sort, and her boss has just retired, and so someone new is coming into the office, so she's going to be like this person's secretary. When she meets this person, she realizes that she's already met him like the night before at a pub or whatever, where they had like an incident where they almost kissed kind of thing. And he is going to be her new boss. He is also married. His name is David, and then we follow Adele, which is his wife. Adele is a little off in the beginning. Like the whole time I'm reading this book, I'm like, what is it about this woman? There's something very strange about her. Why does she want to be Louise's friend so badly? You know, like, what does she know about Louise? Or what does she suspect about Louise? It's just very strange. And then we start getting to the end. Of course, there's some timelines. We start learning about Adele. Something happened to Adele and her family that has sort of caused Adele some anxiety. So she's, you know, she's actually also served some time in like a home for like mentally ill kind of people. There's definitely something not quite right. I don't want to say that. It's more like unsettling about Adele as we learn about her life and what's led her to where she is now with David. But when you get to the end, that's what really did it for me with this book. I did not see that coming. No book has ever done that in an ending. And I have yet to read another mystery thriller book to really just knock me like this book has. I mean, this just blew me over. I will forever recommend this to anybody that loves reading a good domestic mystery thriller kind of book. Fascinating. Just wow. And then coming in at number 1, if you haven't already guessed it, is The Sundale Motel by Simone St. James. Just loved the entire story of this book. Like, just the whole atmosphere of this book. I couldn't put it down. It was everything I was looking for in a book. We have timelines again. We have some paranormal activity. It scared the crap out of me. To this day, as well as Behind Her Eyes, I recommend it to so many people. I still talk about this book. When I go to my hairdresser, she's always like, what's that book that you're always telling me about? It's this one. We're always talking about it because I think I fascinated her. She's not a reader, but she likes to hear about the story. So it just has to be my number 1 mystery thriller for 2020. So it starts out in 1982, upstate New York. We're following Viv. And then we jump to 2017 where we're following Carly, where Viv is Carly's aunt. Carly has always just been fascinated with the story of her Aunt Viv, and just the fact that they've never found her body or never found out. It's like she just vanished. And then we're following Viv in 1982 where she left home. She wants to become an actress, so she's making her way up to New York. For some reason, she stops at the Sundale Motel, and she ends up staying there and working there. And these series of events starts to happen. And as these series of events happen, we're following along with Carly as well, as sort of these same events are kind of happening, but yet it's in a different way, like through Carly's eyes instead of through Vid's eyes. So Carly ends up like just taking her aunt's footsteps, like just going down the road through her aunt's footsteps. She starts working at the Sundale Motel, and these same sort of events start happening to Carly as they did with Vid. But then of course it all leads to, you know, what happened to Vid. Not gonna say any more about that, but absolutely loved it. Every word of this book just kept me involved. So there you go. Number 1 book of 2020. My number 1 mystery thriller of 2020. I don't know what my actual number 1 book is gonna be just yet. That'll be another video. So that's it. All 8 books. What were your favorite mystery thrillers, horrors of 2020? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank y'all so much for watching. As always, hope you're all doing well and staying safe. Hugs from me all around. And I will see y'all very, very soon in my next video. Another 2020 favorites. It'll be Mel Mel Romance. So buckle up. Bye, y'all.